Hello, everybody. Welcome back. I don't know. Welcome back I have a lot of energy. Welcome back for another video. Welcome back to the channel. Hope that you're all having a great day, morning, afternoon, evening, wherever you are, wherever you might be. I do hope that it is absolutely fantastic. Very big thank you to everyone who leaves a comment every single video. I do appreciate it. You are helping out the algorithm. Thank you for leaving a like as well. And without any further ado, let's jump right into it. Some pretty interesting news today. Some stuff that you can probably assume or assumption was actually going to be a thing. We have not seen companies slow down their accumulation of crypto at all. I mean, at all. They have not stopped. They show no signs of stopping. The crazier aspects of a lot of the news as of late has actually surrounded companies absorbing through osmosis as much Ethereum as they possibly can. It is 9,000 times, fake number, cheaper to be able to buy Ether than it is Bitcoin. These companies have all but announced they want to buy as much Ether as they possibly can within the next year. That's like an actual year that they will actually have everything. We have 3 or 4, if I remember correctly, companies who have come out in the last 6 weeks, 7 weeks, all announcing that they are aiming to be the largest corporate holder of Ether on the entire planet. So this one, like I said, should absolutely come as no surprise. BlackRock's Ethereum ETF is called ETHA. Ether? I'm not really sure what it's supposed to be. BlackRock's Ethereum ETF has accumulated over 3 million Ethereum, representing 2.46% of the total supply. You have to keep in mind, it is also believed that a portion of Ether is actually lost and gone forever. It's not as mathematically percentagely high as Bitcoin. The guesstimates are anywhere for Bitcoin that between 3 to 6 million coins are lost and gone forever in old wallets. It's very similar. It's similar-esque for Ether. The other part is that this narrative of ETF, like kind of being like, well, that's the thing to focus on. Out of 100% of all the Ether, 2.4% is gone. Well, we'll see what happens to the other 97.4. No, so the problem there also is years ago, this is no longer news, and I can only assume why. Years ago, we used to get a lot of how much is already being hoarded news. If you don't remember, I used to talk quite often about like 90% of all Bitcoin, 90% of all, that's the amount of Bitcoin that we know has been absorbed, funneled into wallet addresses that only accumulate. They never sell. They have no intention of selling. We don't know who owns all of these wallets, etc. The same thing has been happening for years, even before ETFs with Ether. Companies, governments, institutions knew that Ethereum's main focal point was to be like a literal world computer, a new system for everyone to use. You do not create or have created the Enterprise Ethereum Alliance with hundreds of mega companies around the world and have none of them buy any. It wouldn't make any sense. We also heard years ago from the CEO of Coinbase. And this is how I remember it. He said that he loves Ether. He thinks that Ether is going to reign supreme over Bitcoin. He doesn't have an Ether. I assume he has tens of thousands, if not hundreds of thousands, if not millions himself. We also know that a third of all Ether is locked into the machine. It's being staked just within that one protocol. One protocol, but there are other protocols as well that don't involve Ethereum staking, where it's also gone. The amount of Ether on crypto exchanges hasn't been this low since 2015. We recently just celebrated Ethereum's 10-year anniversary. 2015. So, what we have now is going to be a tug of blockchain, probably between around 7 or 8 companies. I'm using that number as a guesstimate for BlackRock, Fidelity, Grayscale, the 3 to 4 other companies who we recently heard about as well, and then potentially in the future some other ones who also kind of pop in, because it seems like once a week now that we're getting some kind of a new ostentatious company who's like, hey, we love Ethereum, blah, 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 blah. That kind of thing. It won't take them forever to absorb the entire supply. I assume they're doing this to kind of control it, to own it, to hold it, to stake it. But also, it's the second largest crypto on the planet. If you can procure all of that right now by yourself, you're going to do so. It says, highlighting a major rise in institutional interest that is reshaping market dynamics completely. 3 months ago, people were pretending like Ether and Ethereum were garbage. Do you remember? There were so many things, people being like, yeah, I think Bitcoin's going to go to 120, 130 in the short term. We're probably going to see a $1,500 Ether. I can totally foresee a $1 million Bitcoin, but I would assume Ethereum's going back down to 800, 900. And I was like, what? Like, what world are you? Ethereum might not perform as well as Bitcoin, but it's not going to drop by 70% while Bitcoin does a 10x. That just wouldn't make any real sense. But a lot of what we're getting now is people acting like Ethereum's the it coin to have, and there's nothing else to hold. And once again, I assume this is usually because of discussions behind the scenes that some very wealthy people are having, and they've come to the conclusion, now's the time, let's get all of it. BlackRock's ETHA now holds over 3 million ETH, valued at 11.36 billion US dollars. Institutional demand for Ethereum has surged, seemingly out of nowhere, surpassing Bitcoin ETF inflows. Oh, if you weren't here like 10 days ago, there was a bit. Oh gosh, it was dramatic. I think one day Bitcoin had, what was it, like 180 million worth of inflows, like dollars, and I think Ethereum had, what was it, like almost $1 billion, and people were like, I don't believe it, something's wrong. And it's like, no, it's easier to acquire that. They can push resources to one direction and go, all right, it might take us 11 months to do this. We can absorb all the Ether right now. Not talking about 2027, not talking about 2035. Now we can own all of it. We'll be the only people who can mint it and mine it. Let's do this right now, before or as the banks are trying to buy, and before or as the banks and governments are building their central bank digital currencies on top of it. You would logically go for the one that don't be afraid. They're buying both. But Ether is the price, it's a lot easier to accumulate all of it. Yeah. So it says since July 2025, BlackRock's Ethereum ETF, ETHA, has amassed over 3 million ETH, equating to 2.46% of the total supply of Ethereum. The significant accumulation reflects a growing institutional appetite for Ethereum, marking a pivotal shift in crypto assets allocation among major financial players. This is going to continue to get a little bit crazier over the next couple of months. I don't think we've seen the end of this. I think this is like the very beginning. A lot of these companies are announcing that they're basically going to be the new MicroStrategy, but just for Ethereum. I think it's going to rock the market in unforeseen, hopefully potentially good ways. If Ethereum does well, altcoins do well. That's how it's always been, and that's probably how it's going to be for at least another cycle or two, depending on which coins actually end up getting adopted. But yeah, it's no surprise. I would logically assume November, December. BlackRock should probably have around 6 to 7 million Ether. It's not that questionable or being like, oh gosh, they can't do it. No, it's already aiming in that direction. They're already very close to a million Bitcoin. So you know how that is. Yeah. That's the companies continue to buy up large amounts of everything. But in this instance, Ethereum is kind of taking the digital cake. And yeah, let's move on. So this was popular, but it's because I think people don't really get what's going on. A lot of agencies who would rather not see Bitcoin being a thing as far as we know keep announcing certain really interesting things, and I'll tell you exactly what they are. For those of you not looking at the screen, the title is The International Monetary Fund recommends including Bitcoin in national GDP calculations. What's actually going on is that the International Monetary Fund and the World Bank, they want information on who's actually holding these things. This has nothing to do with trying to figure out this or make Bitcoin more this or no, they want to actually, I don't want to use the word control, but a lot of it has to do. So years ago, there were surveys from the IMF and from IMF and the World Bank years ago where they were asking countries and central banks, are you holding Bitcoin? Bitcoin back then was like that was the only thing they were asking about. Where are you holding Bitcoin? And many of them were like, no, we're not even thinking about it. This is also when we had those surveys from US, UK, and I forgot the other country. They were asking, did they deem or think that Bitcoin could be some kind of an issue, potentially a threat against fiat currencies? And it was always a resounding no. No, until it got to a maybe. That was around 2022. So now what we're seeing is they've been keeping tabs on which countries have crypto. They've told some of the countries before who are buying crypto to stop buying crypto. Those who are under sanctions have been using Bitcoin as a means of trade and also a way to, like, I don't want to say get richer, but also like they're mining Bitcoin as well. So what we're seeing is them just trying to like keep tabs. They know that other countries are buying and mining and using it. But now they want more of like an accurate calculation to be able to say, okay, cool. This has nothing to do with being like, let's integrate crypto. No, these people, as far as we know, want the status quo to remain the same, with them being in power and them having as much control over monetary policies as they can. Crypto lightly, at least now, circumvents that, but The International Monetary Fund, a Washington, D.C. based financial institution under the United Nations, published an article on Thursday recommending what it calls an updated system of national accounts, or an SNA. These measures, there we go, and incorporates the value of emerging technologies, including Bitcoin and other cryptocurrencies, in the calculation of the country's GDP. The SNA, whose roots go back as far as 1947, because of course it does, we can't have anything new, provides accounting frameworks to help countries evaluate their economies. And this latest update now integrates activities that involve artificial intelligence, digital services, and crypto assets such as Bitcoin. They said Statisticians have found a way to classify certain crypto assets as non-produced, non-financial assets, which are reflected in national wealth. Bitcoin uses as much electricity as Argentina. Yet because it doesn't involve the creation of goods or services in traditional sense, it isn't counted in gross domestic product. This is basically meant to keep tabs on who has it and basically its effect on the economy. This is why I told you before, we're seeing this really weird, it's not even a shift. This is seismic, where we're talking about ETFs. You're going to be able to buy into ETFs with crypto. And when you sell those ETFs, you're going to also get back crypto as well. The last real step that we're waiting for is when we start hearing the New York Stock Exchange, the NASDAQ, and every other stock exchange around the world begin to announce like, okay, well, when you buy some stocks, you can also pay in with crypto. When you cash out of those stocks, you can click like, I want to be paid out. And like, it's coming. Like, we know that this is literally going to be the next step. So yeah, this was, and I say it nicely, this was touted as major, awesome, good news a lot. And I say, I've been here long enough to know when I'm able to smell the letters B and then also the letter S. We've seen it before from the IMF, the World Bank, Christine Lagarde. All these people have mentioned before that they don't want this being part of the system. This is just a larger part of them trying to make sure that they know what's going on so that they can, push things around in their favor. Every time, it's kind of like whenever we heard any company announcing, hey, you can buy rubber bands with crypto. And I'm like, no, they're doing that so that you can give them your crypto. Don't they want dollars? Why are they now accepting crypto for all these different things? They realize if they can get it from you now and prices 10, 20, 70x over the next 20, 30 years, well, guess what, buddy boy? They got your crypto. So never forget how early you are in this market and how, the chance that you have over billions of other people who are just not paying attention to this market. I do think that is going to do it for this video. I do hope that you've all enjoyed. I do hope you all are having a great day, morning, afternoon, evening, wherever you are, wherever the heck you might be. I do hope that it is absolutely fantastic. Thank you all once again for watching, listening, liking, commenting, and supporting the channel, and I will most certainly be talking to you all soon. See you.